Before we begin with this video, I would like to introduce you to my website www.learnfrenchbysuchita.com, where you will find recorded courses for all your French language needs. We have courses for DELF A1, DELF A2, DELF B1, TEF TCF recorded course, French phonetics as well. We have special courses for our school students ranging from grade 5 to grade 8. We also have courses for university students who are enrolled in certificate course or diploma course in Delhi University. And finally, we also have courses for our school students who are aiming to appear for their DELF Prem or DELF Junior examinations. So hurry up and check it out. While learning a new language, one of the basic things we learn is les pronoms sujets, which means the subject pronouns. For example, I, you, he, she. Okay, so what are subjects? Subjects are actually the doer of an action. For example, if I say Ria is studying French, so Ria is the subject of that action. So what are subject pronouns? Subject pronouns are the words which are used in place of nouns. Example, in the same example, if I say Ria is studying French, instead of saying Ria, I say she is studying French. So she is actually a subject pronoun. Now in French language, the subject pronouns are divided into two categories: singulier et pluriel, singular and plural. So first of all, we'll begin with the singular subjects. Je. Je means I. The pronunciation is je, as in pleasure, measure. So je. Then tu. Tu means you. Then third one is il. Il means either he or it. Then L, as in English L, the meaning is she or it. Then let's move on to the plural subject pronouns. The first is nous. The pronunciation is nous. Will not pronounce the last consonant S. Okay, so the meaning is we. Now vous, the meaning is you. Now what is the difference between this you and this you? This is used for singular people. For example, if I want to say Rohan, you are studying French. So Rohan is a singular person. So I'll use tu. If I want to say Rohan and Ria, you are studying French. So Rohan and Ria are plural subjects. So we'll use vous. Now let's come on to the second last subject, which is il. We also pronounce it as il, and this is also il. The meaning is they. Then this is also L, and the pronunciation of this is also L. The meaning is they. Now what is the difference between these two? They and they. So for this, we'll quote this example. If we have a group of boys, then what do we use? Il. If we have a group of girls and I want to address them as they, then we use L. Now the question arises, what about if we have a group of boys and girls both? Then what do we use? Then we use the masculine one. So that means L is used only when the group is only of girls. When we have girls and boys both, we use il. In the series of French language grammar topics, in today's lesson, we'll be studying le verbe être, which means the verb être, with certain examples. So whenever we write the conjugation of any verb, the verb is être in this case, we divide our table into two parts: singulier et pluriel, singular and plural. And we write our pronoms sujets in this order: je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, elle, as explained in the previous video. Now we'll start with the conjugation of the verb être. The first is je suis, which means I am. The pronunciation is je suis. Now the next is tu es, as in the letter A. Meaning is you are. Il est, the meaning is he is or it is. Now in every verb, the conjugation of il and elle is same. So il est, so elle will also have the conjugation of il only. So il est and elle est. The meaning is he is, it is, And for LA, it is she is or it is. Let's come on to the plural now. Nous sommes, which means we are. Now the next is vous êtes. This is vous êtes, according to the rule liaison, which means you are. Now the pronunciation of this is ils sont, which means they are, and elles sont, which is they are. On les répète encore une fois. We'll repeat it one more time. Je suis, tu es, il est, elle est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont, and elles sont. Now, in order to understand this topic, le verbe être, in a more detailed way, we'll consider certain examples. Let's look at the first example. So, je dash Indian. I dash Indian. So, what am I going to fill in this? I am Indian. Très bien. So, I am in French would be the verb être. So, je suis. So, I am Indian. The verb être. Now, nous dash belle. Belle means beautiful. So, we dash beautiful. We are beautiful. So, what is the correct conjugation of the verb être? It is nous sommes. Now, ils, which means they, intelligent, which means intelligent. So, they dash intelligent. They are. Ils sont intelligents. Très bien. Now, Marie. Marie, it is the name of a girl, of course. So, this is which subject? So, if I say Marie dash Canadian. So, Marie dash Canadian. Marie is who? Marie is actually elle, which is she. So, Marie is Canadian. So, for elle we use a. So, the answer is Marie est Canadienne. Now, the last example, vous. Vous means you. So, you dash handsome. Beau means handsome. So, vous êtes. Vous êtes beau, which means you are handsome. Alright, so let's begin with the video, and we are going to learn les articles indéfinis, which means the indefinite articles. So I'm sure you all must have learned the indefinite and the definite articles in English, but now we are going to learn the same concept in French. Okay, so first let me know what are indefinite articles. The indefinite articles are the articles which we use to introduce something which is not specific. Okay, so can you let me know one article which is indefinite in English? Alright, so the article is a. So like for example in English you say a pen, a book, or it can be an, like an orange. So you say a or an for introducing something which is not specific. For example, there is a book on the table, which means that you do not know which book is on the table. There is a book on the table. So, the is your definite article. However, a is your indefinite article. Now, I can also say this is a pen. Why did I say this is a pen? Because I'm not sure about whose pen is this. So, this is a pen. Again, it's an indefinite article. Alright, cool. So now let's just move on to French, and just let me know how many indefinite articles do we have in French. So as mentioned on the board, there are 3 indefinite articles in French. First one being un, une, des. Un, une, des. Répète, répète. Un, une, des. Now, the meaning in English would be un can mean a or an, une can mean a or an, and they means some. un, une, des. It has a little typical pronunciation, une, un, une, des. Now, what is the concept behind using 3 indefinite articles in French? So see, the concept comes from here. All the nouns in French are gender based. In the sense, this concept is unlike English. This concept is not there in English, but there in French. Okay, now all the nouns in French, by nouns what do I mean? Name, place, animal, thing. So it means, like for example, table, chair, fan, clock, anything, any object in French is classified as either masculine or feminine. This concept is not there in English. Like for example, if I say a fan, it will never come into your mind that fan is male or female. A table, it never comes into your mind that it is male or female. But in French, all these objects are either male or female. Okay. Now, for all the objects which are male, which are masculine, and which are singular, which are masculin et singulier. So, if they are masculine and singular, they will take an article which is un. Cool. Now, second thing, if your object that you're talking about is feminine or singular, feminine and singular, not or, feminine and singular, in that case you use une. Now, if that object that you're talking about is plural, like for example books, this I'm quoting example in English, not in French right now. So like for example books, pens. Now, if it is plural, then you do not have to care about if it is masculine or feminine. If it is plural, you will always put they. If it is masculine singular, you put un. If it is feminine singular, you put une. And if it is plural, you put they. Now, the next question and very important question is, how do we get to know that in French that this particular word is male or female? How do we get to know that? Now for that, there is a general rule that I have written, although there are some 20 to 25% of the words which are exceptional also, but this is a general rule which will help you out. So the general rule is the words which end with E are generally feminine. Now, the words which end with E, they are generally feminine. This rule is applied to 70 to 75% of the cases. However, 20 to 25% cases are exception, which also we will learn. So, the words which end with E are generally feminine. Okay. So, now here I have quoted certain examples. If you can see all of them, all these examples, they are ending with E. So, that means all of them are feminine or masculine. The words which end with E are feminine. None of them is an exception for now. Okay. So, let's take the first word, carotte. Carotte. Now, carotte, it ends with E, so we take une carotte. Une carotte. Une gomme. Une gomme. Why have I put une in every case? Because all of them are ending with E and therefore all of them are feminine and of course singular. So, une carotte. Une carotte, that means a carrot. Let's continue. Une gomme. Une gomme. Une gomme, an eraser. Next, une table. Une table. Une table, a table. Une bouteille. Une bouteille. Again, it ends with E, so we put une. And the meaning comes out to be a bottle. Une porte. Une porte. Une porte, that means a door. All of them again are ending with E, so I have put une in front of all of them. Okay, so now here I have quoted certain examples of the words which are masculine singular. Now you can see all of them are ending with any consonant or any vowel but not E, but not the letter E. So that means if they are not ending with the letter E, that means they all are masculine. So let's just start with the first one, that's pain, pain. That's un pain, un pain. Now un pain, that means a bread. Why did I put un? Because pain, that's not ending with E. So that means that's something which is masculine and of course singular. So you say un pain.
On continue avec un tableau. Un tableau. Un tableau, which means a board or a painting. Again, it doesn't end with E, so it's male. Un tableau. Un miroir. Un miroir, that means a mirror. Masculine singular. Un sac. Un sac, a bag. Un ordinateur. An ordinateur. Ordinateur, which means a computer. So see, all of them. It's ending with R, C, R, U, N. None of them is the letter E. Now here I've quoted certain examples which are plural. Now if they are plural, so they're ending with S. Just like English, if I say book, so the plural is books. If I say pen, the plural is pens. Okay. The only difference is that in French you do not pronounce the last consonant, so you will not pronounce it as carottes. Okay. It has to be carotte. Carotte. So that means in French the pronunciation of singular and plural is same. So des carottes. If the word is plural, you do not have to care about if it is masculine or feminine. If it is plural, you have to always put des. Okay. So it becomes des carottes. Des carottes, which means some carrots. Des gommes, some erasers. Des tables, some tables. Des fleurs, some flowers. Des sacs, which means some bags. So you see, all of them are plural. So I put they in front of all of them. You do not have to care about if it is masculine, if it is feminine, or if it is an exception. If it is plural, you always have to put they. Okay. So now I told you 70 to 75% of the words are general. That means that if they end with E, they are feminine, and if they do not end with E, that means they are masculine. Now there are certain exceptions which you have to learn, and that comes by observation. The more you read, the more you listen to things, you'll have to observe yourself that okay, this word is an exception, and how do you get to know that it's an exception? I've quoted certain examples over here. So see, if the word is an exception, the rule becomes opposite. Just now I told you that the words which end with E, they are feminine, and the words which do not end with E are masculine. So if the word is an exception, so this rule will change. If the word ends with an E, then it will be masculine. And if the word doesn't end with an E, then it will be feminine because it's an exception. So the rule will become opposite. So let's look at some of the exceptions that I've quoted here. Fleur. Fleur, that means flower. Now, it is not ending with E. According to the normal rule, this word should have been masculine. But since it is an exception, the rule will become opposite. So it will be une fleur. Une fleur. So it's feminine. A flower. Livre. Livre. Now, look at the word livre. It is ending with E. According to the normal rule, it should have been feminine, but since it is an exception, the rule will become opposite and it will become masculine. So it is un livre. Un livre, which means a book. Let's look at the third word, which is maison. Maison. Maison, which means a house. Now again, it is not ending with E. According to the normal rule, it should have been, that's right, it should have been masculine. Now since it is an exception, the rule will become opposite and it will become feminine. So we say une maison. Une maison, and that means a house. Let's look at the next word, that's cartable. Cartable, since the rule is opposite, it is ending with E and therefore it will be masculine. So we say un cartable, and that's a school bag. Next, parapluie. Parapluie, it means an umbrella. It is ending with E, it is an exception, so the rule will become opposite and it will become something which is masculine. So my suggestion to you is, whenever you learn any noun, anything, let's say parapluie, so you learn it along with its article. So you say un parapluie, un cartable, une fleur, une maison, un dictionnaire. If you learn it along with the article, then it gets fit into your mind that it is something which is an exception, or maybe it is masculine or it is feminine. So whenever you learn any noun, learn it along with its article. Definite or indefinite, that doesn't matter. Okay. Now if I make all of them plural, let's say I write fleur with an S to make it plural. So in plural, it doesn't matter. In plural, as I told you, it will always be they. des fleurs, des livres, des maisons, des cartables, des parapluies. So in plural, it really doesn't matter. Okay, so let's just start with the video, and first, before we practice the indefinite articles, I would like to give you a recap of what we learned in the previous video. Okay, now there are 3 indefinite articles in French. Un, une, des. So all the objects in French are gender based. Okay, now the article that we have to use according to the object, that would be either masculine or feminine or plural. So we have to look at the object. Is it masculine? Is it singular? Is it plural? We have to look at that first, and then accordingly we have to put our article. So let's just start. I'll tell you, there are 3 indefinite articles in French: un, une, and des. Now, un we use for something which is masculine, singular. Une we use for something which is feminine, singular. And they we use for something which is plural. Okay, so when an object is singular, then you always have to see that it is masculine or feminine, but if it is plural, then you always have to put they. Okay, now here are certain examples that I've written. All of them are singular, so you will have to see whether it is masculine or feminine, and I'm going to tell you in advance that none of them is an exception. We'll do in a slide all the words which are an exception, but for now I have not written any word which is an exception. So let's just do, you are going to do it with me, so grab your notebook, your pens, and we'll do it together. So the first word is feuille, 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 feuille. Now it ends with an E, so the answer would be une feuille. Très très bien, bravo. Une feuille, because it's feminine, it's ending with E. Now oreille, oreille, oreille. Again, it ends with E. Un oreille, une oreille. Une oreille. Bravo, hein? Allez, on continue avec nez. Nez. Now, it doesn't end with E. Un nez, une nez. Un nez. Bah, fantastique, hein? Vous êtes très intelligent. Allez, on continue avec fenêtre. Fenêtre, which means window. Now it ends with E. Un fenêtre, une fenêtre. Une fenêtre. Très, très bien. Allez, chaussure. 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 Un chaussure, une chaussure. Une chaussure. Ending with E. So we say une chaussure. On continue avec hôtel. Hôtel. In French, the letter H is always silent. That means we write it, but it's always mute. So, hôtel. Hôtel. Un hôtel, une hôtel. Un hôtel. Not ending with E. So it is masculine, which means a hotel. On continue avec magasin. Magasin. Magasin, which is a shop. Un magasin, une magasin. Un magasin. Bah, très bien. Ok, rue, rue. Un rue, une rue. Une rue. Une rue. Ok. On continue avec gare. Ok, une rue, which means a street. Ok, a road or a street. Gare. Une gare, un gare. Pas une gare, parce que gare se termine par la lettre E. It ends with the letter E. Chanteur. Chanteur, chanteur, which means singer. So we say un chanteur, une chanteur. Un chanteur, bien sûr, parce que il y a la lettre R. So you have the letter R. So that means it is going to be something which is masculine. So let's say ville. Chanteur, by the way, chanteur means a singer. Now ville. Ville ends with the letter E. So we say un ville, une ville. Une ville, bravo. Une ville, which is a city. And finally, we have bibliothèque. Bibliothèque, which means a library. Now, it ends with the letter E, so we say une bibliothèque. Je répète, hein? Une feuille. So when you learn it along with the article. Do not just learn feuille. Just make this a habit. Just make this a habit that you have to learn with the article. Une feuille, une oreille, un nez, une fenêtre, une chaussure, un hôtel, un magasin, une rue, une gare, un chanteur, une ville et finalement une bibliothèque. Okay, so now let's continue with some of the examples. I've written the same examples, but can you notice something which is little different from the previous one? Très bien. Now all of them are ending with S and therefore all of them are plural. Now I told you if it is plural, it is going to take the article they. Why? Because if it is plural, it has to take an article which is plural with it. So you say des feuilles. But in French, you know, the pronunciation of singular object and the plural object doesn't change. It is always same. So even if it was singular, we say feuille. And even if it is plural, we say feuille. So now, des feuilles. If you see, irrespective of the gender of these words, these nouns, I've written they in all of them because all of them are plural. Yeah. So des feuilles. Des feuilles, which means some leaves. Des oreilles. Des oreilles. Des oreilles, which means some ears. Des nez. Now here I have not added an S. The rule is, if your noun in singular form, if it ends with S or X or Z, then the plural remains same. So here nez was already ending with a Z in the singular form. So its plural will remain same. So if you say nez, in plural form, it is des nez, some noses. Des fenêtres, some windows. Des chaussures, some shoes. Des hôtels, some hotels. Des magasins, some shops. Des rues, some streets. Des gares, some train stations. Des chanteurs, some singers. Des villes, some cities, and then you have des bibliothèques, which means some libraries. So if it is plural, do not look at anything, masculine, feminine, exception, nothing has to be looked upon. You just have to put blindly they in that case. So now here I've quoted certain examples which are all an exception. So now since it is an exception, your rule will now become opposite. If your word will end with the letter E, then in that case, it is going to be masculine, and if it will not end with the letter E, then it is going to be something which is feminine. Okay. Now, the first word, mer. Mer. Mer, which means a sea. Now, it is not ending with the letter E. Un mer, une mer. Une mer. That's right, because it is an exception now. Une mer. Marcher. Marcher. That is something which is masculin. Alors, un marché. Un marché. Arbre. Marché, which means a market. Arbre, arbre, un arbre, une arbre. It is an exception, remember, so the rule will become opposite. So we say un arbre. Un arbre, which means a tree. Téléphone. Téléphone, which is with the letter E. It ends with the letter E, but since it is an exception, un téléphone or une téléphone, it is going to be un téléphone. Dictionnaire. Dictionnaire, it is going to end with the letter E, so we say un dictionnaire or une dictionnaire. We say un dictionnaire, since it is an exception. So you see, the rule becomes opposite. Caméra. Caméra. Caméra, which doesn't end with the letter E, so it is going to be feminine. So we say une caméra. Une caméra. A radio. A radio. Un radio, une radio. Une radio, that's right. Imperméable. Imperméable, which is a raincoat. Since it ends with letter E, it is going to be masculine because it is an exception. So je répète, hein? Une mer, un marché, un arbre, un téléphone, un dictionnaire, une caméra, une radio, un imperméable. And if I make all of them plural, let's say I add an S or S, I make all of them plural, then you do not have to care whether it is masculine or feminine. Then irrespective of that, you always put des mères or des marchés or des arbres.
Cette fois-ci, on va apprendre le verbe avoir. So we start with the first subject, which is je. So the conjugation of avoir is a, so it becomes j'ai. Now here we have to note that je changes into j apostrophe when we have a vowel after this. So in this case we have the vowel a, so it becomes j'ai, which means I have. Now tu as, which means you have. Il a, which means he has or it has. Now I told you in the last video that il and l, they always have the same conjugation. So elle a, which means she has or it has. Now let's come on to pluriel. Nous avons, it is nous avons, the rule liaison. We have, the next one is vous avez, again the sound of z, the meaning is you have. Now here again liaison. Ils ont, which means they have, and here elles ont, which means they have. Now here we have to know that if we say ils sont, the meaning is they are, because the verb was être. But if we say ils ont, the meaning is they have. Similarly, if we say elles sont, so that is the verb être, they are. But if we say elles ont, then the meaning is they have. Now we'll study the usage of the verb avoir. So the verb avoir has actually two usages. The first one that I already told you according to the meaning, which is to have. So for example, if I want to say I have a pen, so how do I say I have? That is j'ai, and a pen is un stylo. So j'ai un stylo. Now he has some pencils, for example. So he has his il a some pencils, des crayons. Now the second usage is to tell the age or to ask the age. We always use the verb avoir irrespective of the meaning. For example, if I want to say I am 25 years old, so actually if I talk according to English, so I am should have been je suis, which is the verb avoir. But according to the rule, since we are telling the age, we can never use the verb être. We will always use the verb avoir. So j'ai, now 25 is 25 ans. J'ai 25 ans, which means I am 25 years old. Now the next one is you are 10 years old. So similarly, you are, so for you I'll use tu. So tu and the verb avoir followed by the age. So tu as 10 ans, which means you are 10 years old.